Welcome to BYOB. I am Nola Nash, and she is
Laura Kemp, and he is
Harry Shepard. I can't believe it. We're actually fantastic. Wow. What a treat.
Harry Shepard, we are so glad to have you. You are such a fun person to talk with and just talented in so many ways. So we are thrilled that you are here with us. You're so much fun. And so we are going to turn most of this on over to you. I mean, Laura and I, we can't help it. We're going to talk.
I want to talk about The Traveler, and I want to talk about Laura Kemp's book number 3. I'm really excited about those two things. Yeah. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I actually got to do a blurb that's in the Amazon ad for The Traveler. So I feel like I'm now finally famous. I've arrived as an author.
Yes.
You don't have to sell books. You just have to be in blurbs. Yeah, that's the one right there.
That's it is. Traveler coming in March.
And May for Laura 3.0 said May, right? Or is that what we're shooting for that one?
May, yes. That's what I have in my brain.
All right.
I like deadlines.
I got to write down Mackinac Island because that's going to be my spring trip, is to come up and watch that launch in person.
Oh, well, that's in July.
So that's even better, right?
July, it'll be later, but yeah, you could. Do you want to come to Mackinac Island? And
always, you know.
My handler.
Yeah, well, you know what? If that gets me on the boat, I will do that. I'll carry luggage. You know, we have to name a fudge up there when we're on there for your protagonist.
Name a fudge for
because that's for people that don't know, Mackinac Island is very famous for their
and their horse
many flavors of fudge
and horse poop. So we could combine
horse poop, yeah, and you know. One word works for the other.
Look similar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, it's a synonym. Yeah.
One's so similar. You don't want to eat, but you know, who's
everybody just lost their appetite.
Which one you pick up? Well, Terry, speaking of gross things, you have written a picture book that has to do with the pandemic, things being healthy, and I think your picture books are so fun. Now, picture books are not all that you write. You've written a lot of things, but what a timely thing to have written, to have been so creative with. Tell the folks a little bit about that series.
Well, it was supposed to be a one-off, actually. I mean, I have grandkids. They're at the time they were, 4 and 9. They're now 10 and 5, and they were scared, like all of our children are, about this thing. So I thought back to my own youth, and I loved reading Green Eggs and Ham. So I wrote a How to Protect Yourself from COVID-19 book called Juliet and the Mystery Bug. And I wrote it in tetramic pentameter, which is the Dr. Seuss type of poetry. My son-in-law, who's a fantastic graphic artist, a Disney style guy, he did the illustrations, and I made one. Well, then the neighbors got a hold of it, and then the people down the street got a hold of it. The library wanted 5 copies, and before I knew it, I had zillions in every doctor's office in the country. So it's been an unexpected success. It basically teaches you the skills of masking and distancing, vaccine science, in a way that children can understand. But you know what I found out is that it's the adults that are memorizing the dang thing because they have to read it over and over and over. You remember how that works when you're kids?
Oh yeah.
They want to hear again, Dad. One more time, yeah. So that's been a wonderful project. It's so different than Jessica. I'm used to writing about badass women detectives that are out saving the world. And then to shift gears to this 5-year-old who's trying to figure out how to make a mask. That was totally different.
Hey, in her own way, she's saving the world too.
Yeah, she is. She is. Well, I hope she grows up to be a detective. That would be great.
I'm sure she will at least grow up to be a badass one.
Yes. Well, yeah, her mom and her grandma both are. So
there you
definitely,
go.
It's in the gene pool. Definitely,
It is. Absolutely. So tell folks about your detective novels too. So we've gone from picture books to our badass woman. So
yeah. So when I was a corporate guy, my thing, I grew up in this family in Ann Arbor, Michigan, a very liberal family. So when I was growing up as a kid, we had a house full of amazing women, men, every color of the rainbow, every preference you could possibly imagine. And this was in the 1960s. Wow. And so I grew up thinking that was how the world worked until I got to junior high. And that's when I figured out there were things like prejudice and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So throughout my corporate career, I was all about breaking the glass ceiling for the women on my team, looking for the disaffected, the minorities, and giving them the opportunity to be able to thrive. So when I retired from corporate life, I felt at loose ends. All of a sudden, I couldn't do this magic anymore. So my psychiatrist, God love her, not only did she give me some fantastic drugs that help with the clinical depression, that's part of our family, but she said, why don't you do something for yourself? You're always doing something for everybody else. What would you love to do? And that's when I decided I would spend a year writing fiction. And Jessica Ramirez was my first incarnation. Wow. She's the star. Her sidekick is LGBTQ, Alexandra Clark. The guy who's the medical examiner in book 1 is on the autism spectrum. So I have all these people from this huge rainbow of diversity that are all heroes. And that turned out to be the purpose, right? I mean, we do things, we don't do things for money. We do things for a purpose, things that we got to make the world a better place. And that was how I thought I could do it. And it's been so much fun to watch that magic happen.
How many years ago was that? How many years have you been writing?
Well, let's see. I'm coming up on, I'm in year 3 right now. So there's 2 Jess books out. Chasing Vega was the first one. And then Chasing the Captain was the follow-up. And the new one that I'm working on right now is something called Chasing Karma. And that's book 3 in the Jess series. The other stuff that's out there, I have some other kid stuff. I have a time travel book that teaches 4th grade history called Students in Time. And I also am developing a series right now that I'm calling the working title is the 221 Club. And it's 4 kids, very diverse kids that together as a group have the brain of Sherlock Holmes. And they're middle schoolers and they solve mysteries. Yeah. So that's what's going on.
221B being
right. Absolutely. You got it. You can be part of the 221 Club, Laura.
221B Baker Street.
Yes. Yep.
I can be part of the club.
Yes. Well, I'm basing the women on you guys. I mean, when I met you, you changed my whole thing about what authors are and what awesome people are. I mean, talk about 2 people that are very different, but very much the same. In fact, friends, I can't wait until Killer Nashville because I hope to be there to witness the first time that Laura and Nola see each other in person.
Maybe we should videotape it, huh? And
I think we should.
I got a roll now. I could do that. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll bring the camera and we'll do that. That'd be fantastic.
Are you going, Terry? Are you going?
I am now. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. I guess I should get my tickets. I haven't even talked to my husband about it, but he says all the time, go do what you want.
Yeah, well, you should bring him along. Listen, Scott and I'd have a great time. I'm sure we're going to get along just fine.
Oh, and I can show you all the sites. I mean, you do have some times on your own, so you got your tour guide right here. So,
well, yeah, you know what I want to do with you, Nola, is I want to do the New Orleans thing. I want you to take me to all the great voodoo sites, to take me to fortune tellers. I want to see Nola's New Orleans. Definitely.
Nola's New Orleans. Oh yes, and I can definitely do that. Laura, you'll have to come too.
I've never been to New Orleans.
New Orleans will never be the same after we leave.
Well, you don't do it in the summertime. You wait until it cools down a bit because it gets a little sticky down there. Yeah.
March and October, spring break, fall break. That's typically when I go. I mean, being a teacher, that's when I have off anyway. But being a local to South Louisiana, I also know that those are really the only times that you can, walk outside and actually breathe because it's just awful. I mean, and it can be absolutely stunning. To be honest, March is probably the prettiest.
You guys are both awesome writers. What do you think in each of your stories? What is the part of the book that you're most proud of that you wrote? If you can think about that, is there a certain scene that you break out when people say read something? What is yours, Nola?
Mine, I think, has to do with it's actually the end of Traveler because it is a cliffhanger. I mean, it is the first in the series, but the very end of Traveler, there's a whole lot of unexpected that happens, and it's modern people with ancients having a very modern conversation in the midst of an ancient ritual.
Right.
So
I remember this.
Combine those 2 things, and it can be a whole lot of fun. Our main character Shelby has a mouth on her, and she doesn't take any crap from anybody, God or not. And so it's a lot of fun. That one was so much fun to write because it was just,
I read that aloud to Colleen. Yeah, I got a head start on that when I read that's the scene I would pick. I read that aloud to Colleen, and we both cracked it. We can imagine that in the screen. Yeah.
Yes. It's funny. I mean, and that's what I love about Traveler is that it is sad. It is heartbreaking. You will cry, but there's so much of it is funny. You can identify with her because all these weird things were happening to her. And she's like, yeah, this is not what life does. Like, what the heck? Nope, just give me some wine. It'll all go away.
That's right.
She's fantastic in that way. And I love that she's relatable, but all of the things that she does or that happens to her, I love the way that she reacts to them, and it's just fun. And so you end up with this range of emotion, but all the while there's Shelby in her mouth in the middle of it all. And so it's funny. I mean,
nothing like you. It's not at all like you, Nola, right? I mean, you're just, you're the wallflower. But Laura, you and we're both Michigan kids. And as I'm thinking about the two books I've read of yours, what would you say is your favorite scene in those two books?
Well, you haven't read it. It's in the third. It's when I wrap everything up at the end. You have to see it. There's a lot of pressure when you're writing a series. When people love the characters and they want to see them get a certain ending, to wrap up everything. Yeah. And it was just, I think of it like music, like a symphony. You have to end on the right. Ooh.
We have an extra guest. We have another guest in the show.
Dudley's barking at the neighbors.
Dudley. But I feel like it's a symphony, and you have to end on the right chord. It can't be dissonant. It has to be, when you're. And I felt like I nailed it. I felt.
Oh man, that's wonderful.
Into the distance in a way that was really pleasing to me, and the people that I've had read it also said that they were actually glad to not glad that it ended, but that it ended in a really satisfying way. So I was pleased with that because it's a lot of pressure.
Well, just wait till you get it back from the editor. She'll tear it apart.
I know. Well, what do you think?
I love it.
What are you most proud of, Terry?
Oh, I love it anytime that that Jessica and Allie are fighting, because there's so many scenes in both of those books where they're pulling each other's chestnuts out of the fire, as Allie likes to say. And Jess always says, Allie, I had this under control. And Alexandra says, no, you didn't. I'm the guy I shot the bad guy who was going to kill you. And she said, well, I had my gun up. And she said, no, you didn't. You lost 2 pints of blood. You could barely stand up. And that banter between them as their boss is saying, ladies, this house is going to blow up. We need to get away from here now. That
priorities.
Kind of stuff. From in my research, cops have that kind of sense of humor, right? I mean, because they have to learn compartmentalization. Yeah. So the jokes they tell and the banter that they have back and forth, especially when they're on each other, is just, and that's the feedback I've gotten from, my technical consultants is that's one thing you got right. You blew it on the Glocks. Glocks do not have safeties, and you said they did, but you did get the girls right. So.
You got the ladies right, and as ladies, I feel that that's important. I would not have known about the clock not having a safety, but I would have been really into that conversation.
Yeah, well, the other thing is I love the heat scenes between Jessica and her boyfriend, because they are always arguing too, because he wants to protect her life. He's an FBI guy, and she's determined she's going to go after the bad guy. So they will be, in the hotel, in the middle of the mat, they're dancing the nasty, and it's going between their, he kissed her passionately, and she said, I'm going, whether you like it or not. And he says, no, you're not, and nibbles on her ear and that kind of stuff. So I can just imagine, that's like real life, Laura, isn't it? Right? I mean, we've all been married. This is kind of how it goes, right?
Yeah. Juxtaposition, is that the word?
Yeah.
It's strange,
And that's the big question is people want to know, are Jess and Michael going to get together? Because at the end of both books, he asks her to marry him. And the first one, she doesn't even answer. She just smiles. And that kind of made some of the readers mad. The second one, he says, look, I know you're uncomfortable with this. Let's try it. Wear the ring. Let's live the life for 6 months and see what it feels like. And then if it doesn't work, we'll just say goodbye and, no hard feelings and stuff. And she looks at the clock. They're on this private jet that the government's provided for them to get them out of Moscow. And she looks at the countdown clock until they get to DC, and she says, "Well, I'm not sure, but you got 7 hours and 45 minutes to convince me."
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Great.
So it's a lot of fun. I mean, you the thing that's different between my stuff and yours is you guys really reach in, I think, to people's hearts and make them think. And there are, especially Laura, your series. I mean, people I think can identify with your protagonist in a very special way. I mean, she's very human. The thing I like about your stuff, Nola, is it's this one big adventure in a world that you wish existed, and it doesn't. But mine is, I just write popcorn stuff. It's just one chapter ends and you got to turn the page because something's going to happen. And the next, the pin's out of the hand grenade. It's going to blow up. You got to turn the page. Right?
That's great, though.
They want to keep the pages turning. So, yeah, a lot of us read exactly for that reason. So,
yeah, that's why I write.
There's such good stuff and good variety. And I think, I love that I get to read for other authors too, because they're friends of mine. I might read something that is outside of what I would normally read, a genre that I wouldn't normally read. And then I find out, I'm loving this. Like, why don't I read this more? It's like, oh, I should, I should read police procedure rules more. I don't understand everything they're talking about, but that's really cool. I like solving the mystery. So there's a lot more to a lot of books. And we've had this conversation, I've had this conversation with numerous authors, on various shows where we've talked about the fact that multi-genre books are, all books are essentially a multi-genre, even if they have their set genre, because you can work so many other things into them. You work the adventure into the romance and, comedy into the romance or, whatever. And I love that about what all of us write, is that we've written books we love, as opposed to writing books that fit a mold. And there is just something magical about that when you sit down and write what you want.
Yeah. Well, this is the great thing about being an indie. This is what Laura's going to learn. And that is that you aren't responsible for genre. You aren't responsible for pleasing an agent or pleasing a publisher. The only person you have to please, as Rick Nelson said in Garden Party, is yourself. And hopefully there's an audience out there, and
your audience,
that like Kemp, how you got that street team together that did your stuff is just a story. I love hearing that story. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Slowly and surely, now I have mugs. Finally, after years.
I love the Kemp mugs.
I need to get you guys mugs.
They're fantastic. They're so really cute.
My love of graphic design. So
I'll tell you what, I'm a proud Kemp camper. I have the notifications turned on Facebook whenever something happens over there.
I'm glad they're not turned off.
Well, I like lurking in Kemp Camp because I'm actually an admin and she's an admin in my street team too. So Laura and I pair up in a whole lot of things, a whole lot of ways. So we're admins in each other's street teams. So
your worlds are so different. I mean, that's the thing, Nola. I mean, your people, they love you equally, but there's a little bit of a twisted mind in that group,
There is. We're a little on the spooky side, a little more on the party side. That's what we do.
And of course, there's nothing in Shelby that's at all autobiographical for you at all, right? I mean, you're very reserved, calm.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'm never sarcastic or snarky.
Do you think we always write and put a little bit of ourselves into our characters?
Well, isn't that why we come to the? I think most of the people I've talked to, they came to writing because they had that book they had to write that was autobiographical. It was therapeutic, right? I have that one written, and it's a Jessica book, but I will never publish it. I got it out, and it feels really good, and it's not a bad story. It's a pretty good story, but that one is one that I would do if I was ever a Harlan Coben or a James Patterson or a Toni Morrison. And super famous, and people didn't care.
Right.
But it's not anything I want anybody to see.
Sometimes it is just for you, and I like the fact that I have the option in anything that I write to put myself, if I want to, into the characters, and sometimes in unexpected ones. I mean, yes, I'm a lot of Shelby Starling. I will give you if I hadn't gotten married young and had my first child young, Shelby Starling is who I would have been in my early 20s. Like, absolutely balls to the wall. That's who I would have been. However, as an adult, as who I want to be as I grow old is Carmelita. And so when
that's true. Yeah. If you guys haven't read the book, got to check out Carmelita. Yeah.
Check out Carmelita, because that is who I want to grow old to be, is Carmelita. But in the Crescent City books, I'm a whole lot more, oddly, Selene. I'm the bad guy, the villain. It's like, all of those dark things that you ever wanted to think, all of those, that just being able to funnel any kind of stress and pain and anything. Your villain can do those things that you can't. And so Selene is a whole lot more me than Zaley, who's the protagonist and trying to, make everything right. In my case, it would have been Selene. That would have been the one that I would have identified more with. And, for various reasons, and everybody's got their personal reasons for why that is and why they do those things. But it is fun to kind of look at, I know this author, so who are they? Everybody who knows me knows, they can hear my voice when they read Shelby Starling, but also the narrator. The narrator is pretty snarky in that one too. They're an unnamed narrator, but they've got attitude too. So it was kind of a whole lot of, I kind of figured it was more like if Anthony Bourdain was narrating a book about me as a 20-something. This is what we have.
That's perfect.
A good comp, right?
And do you guys ever have just totally gruesome deaths that you put on some of your bad guys to get back at the bullies that picked on you when you're younger?
Or the people with bad reviews. I have one.
Yeah.
My Western, she's going to get cholera. She's going to get dysentery. She's going to get, she might have a wagon wheel run over her, and then she'll.
So now that'd be a fun collab. We should do that. We should take all of our 1-star review people, use their real names, and just put them in a book where one by one they have these horrible things happen to them.
I don't mind 1 star. I just don't like it when they go into great detail as to why they did it.
Well, that's interesting, because I don't mind negative reviews either, as long as they're helpful. If somebody says he's got to work on his dialogue, or this person wasn't authentic enough for me, I'll listen to that.
Information.
Yeah, but if they're there just to hurt, if they just gonna say negative stuff,
and they make it into the book where they make gruesome deaths.
Have you ever confronted
kill people?
Have you guys ever confronted a negative reviewer in person?
No, I don't think that's probably. I've been always told that's not the thing to do, even though internally I want to.
Internally, you say all of the things you want to say, but I don't know that I ever would. I think it's more of a it's one of those things, like, it's not necessarily be a bigger person, but it's also like, what do I want to spend my energy on? And I would rather spend my energy on doing something positive for my work than harping on something that has a negative feeling with my work.
I don't think it would ever end either. I think it would be like just tit for tat, and then a tit for a tat, and then a tit, and then someone would just have to end it.
Yeah.
I'm talking about in person. I'm not talking about getting in a flame war. No.
Yeah, I'm not having anybody in person.
Bad reviews. I know who it is. It's somebody that I know, and I did some detective work and figured it out. Well, this is but it's my ex-husband's current wife.
Oh, really? So that's a little uncomfortable. Yeah.
I don't think that she's unbiased. I don't know. So I was kind of like, well, okay, I guess I could confront her, but that would be.
See, that's an interesting revelation in public, Laura. I don't know that I would share that level of intimacy.
Well, that happens. It happens,
And I had to do some detective work to figure it out.
See, now we're all going to go look for that 1-star and say, which one is it?
Right, to cover her tracks. I guess there's a little adjust in me too. So,
well, this is the fun part about what we do, guys. The thing that I love interacting with readers, happy or sad. But the thing that I really love most is the friends that I've made since I've done this. And if I had not ever left corporate life, I wouldn't know either one of you. And I treasure you both. I think you are two of the most amazing women I know. I'm so proud of you. And such an honor to be on your show. Thank you.
Oh, we are so glad. I know that stuns me, first of all.
So that's accolades to you, how far you've come. But you're a go-getter. So I don't know.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You can't do.
And we will have to have you back on. I know you and I talked for a while, and you've got great projects and lots of ideas and so many things that are coming down the pipe, and just,
Yes,
you're an idea guy, and I love that. So we'll have to catch back up and have you back on the show and kind of see what you're working on next. But Laura and I were thrilled that you were coming on. We've been so excited about this one. So the consummate professional and just the all-around great guy, Terry Shepard. Tell the folks where they can find you online.
TerryShepard.com. That's the place it all begins. And that's why I picked that pen name, because there was a .com available.
There you go.
That's
All right. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a copywritten podcast of Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. On behalf of myself, Nola Nash, Laura Kemp, and Terry Shepard, we hope that you will join us again next time.